And we're live. And who do I have on in this episode, if I may ask? You are on the air.
My name is Frankie.
Frankie. All right. And you're American, I think.
I am.
You
Hmm.
are, yeah. And yeah, well, welcome on the show, Frankie.
Well, thank
Um,
you.
this is like actually only the second time I've had a woman on this show, I think.
Oh
and
no.
and this is like this will be like episode 80, I think, somewhere.
Oh,
somewhere. Yeah.
sure, right?
um so yeah, I'm interested in this because everybody like have their different interests and topics of choice. And well, I'm just going to say or ask one of my standard questions, which is, what is the most interesting thing that happened to you this week?
The most
Since,
interesting thing that happened to me this week.
yeah,
Oh, that's probably an easier question to answer when there's not a pandemic going on. Um,
well, that's all.
I went from the
Anything,
couch to the couch.
yeah,
uh,
anything can be interesting. Like an ant in the road that you see crossing, or a
sure.
crack in the pavement, or trees moving, or whatever. Right? Anything like that can be interesting. Um,
I had a pretty uneventful week, but last week I went on vacation to downtown Los Angeles, and that was fun. We got to check out like the Cecil Hotel because I watched the Netflix documentary with the Elisa Lam story. So we did that. We walked around Chinatown, went to like metaphysical psychic bookshops. It was a lot of fun. Um,
wow,
yeah,
wow.
but like I don't know. I was actually just in a conversation with somebody where I was talking about like nothing really like interesting has happened to me for a while. So I haven't had anything like new to ponder or anything for a long time.
You're not reading any books or anything like that at the moment.
Not well. I just found my copy of Dune, so I was planning on reading that, but haven't read it yet. Just a lot of news articles that I read, um, stuff online. But no, so I'm pretty boring, huh? Do you
No,
want
I
to
don't
get some?
think so. I don't think so. Not at all. I haven't been reading books for ages, but then these like this last month, I just like randomly started reading, and I've finished The Great Gatsby, and The Old Man and the Sea,
Oh,
which,
very good.
yes, and like it was just such a contrast because in The Great Gatsby, the dude is super rich, right? Has everything. And then I went straight on to reading The Old Man and the Sea, where the guy has absolutely nothing, right? Using his trouser as a pillow, trousers and old newspaper as a pillow to sleep on. God damn. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I've gotten into like the reading mood. So the next thing I'm like trying to figure out is like just what's the next book gonna be. Um,
Yeah, I lately every time I try and read a book, like I feel like everything's overly predictable. So I'll pick up a book and I'm like, this looks interesting. And then I'll read maybe a chapter and I'm like, I already know how this ends. And then I'll flip it over, read the last chapter, and I'm like, yep, okay. And like done with it. It's horrible. I haven't that's another thing. Like I'm really looking for a really good book to read. If you know of any, let me know. Dune
yeah,
should be good though. Good things about it.
all right, I might read that as the next one. Um, Yeah, but that is like how you find if a book is interesting or not. If it's not something you've heard of, or talked with anybody about, then that is the go-to method, right? That you take and read, like 10, 20 pages, and then you would like typically think, well, if it doesn't capture you, then screw it. Then I'll find something
Mhm.
else to read or leave it or whatever.
Yeah, I'm actually starting to wonder like if the internet ruined my brain. Like maybe I just don't have the attention span to sit down and like really invest in a good story anymore. Like it's all that 30 seconds, clickbait and stuff, or the news articles that just take 5 minutes to read. I'm like, it's a muscle, use it or lose it, right?
It is. It is. Yeah, it definitely is. Like for newspapers online, I stopped reading like like a lot of like newspapers online for a long time, because I just felt like like it was like you're saying, like a shit ton of like clickbait, right?
Mhm.
And then on top of that, like I just feel like there is so much fair news, check out what happened to this dude, listen to this bad story, and so on. And I'm just wondering, like, where are all the good stories?
Oh yeah, no, it's awful right
Yeah.
now. Like the whole World War III thing going on. I've been taking a break from the news too because I'm like, oh my God, everything I read it sounds like we're already at war with China and Russia. Like it's horrible.
Yeah, everything is like being, like dramatically uh,
Emphasized, yeah.
emphasized. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I like, and I get it. The newspapers need to make money, and fair is, like the money making factor in media. But it is just to the extreme, right? Um,
Yeah,
we could do without some of that for sure. Uh,
definitely
other,
unnecessary.
yeah, yeah, it is not necessary. It's not necessary with all these bad news all the time. Um, but yeah, let me ask you, how many of the states have you been to in America? And did you go out of state when you visited Los Angeles?
No, I live in California. Um, let's see. I haven't traveled much, so I think I've been to, well, Las Vegas, so Nevada, Texas, Louisiana. New Orleans is fantastic, by the way, like my favorite place ever. South Carolina, Arizona, and I think that's it.
Which one of these places were your absolute favorite, and why?
Oh, New Orleans. Oh my God, hands down, New Orleans. That place is just ridiculous. Like the whole atmosphere changes. So when you're like at LAX or the Los Angeles airport, everyone's walking around. They look really mean. Everyone's in a rush. Like God forbid you accidentally bump into somebody or something. Just everyone is uh, they look really stressed out. The second the plane landed in New Orleans and I got off, it was like the air changed. Everything was slower. People were like smiling at you as you would walk by, and I was like, "What the heck are they doing?" Like, it almost freaked me out a little bit. Um, but just the whole atmosphere, like it I can see why they call it the Big Easy because you just feel when you're there, like, not to take anything too seriously, and you just have a really, really fun time. Just walking around the streets. You could walk around with a beer in your hand and just watch all the street performers and stuff. It was fantastic. And then I like scary stuff. So like the whole voodoo element and the, graves and stuff that you could check out was really interesting. And then it has that creepy kind of atmosphere with the older buildings, but then I don't know, it's a really really cool place where all these different concepts kind of come together and just make for like an excellent place to visit. Although I do have to say I did not like the taste of alligator. That was disgusting.
Oh, you tasted it? Damn.
Yes.
Uh, and okay, and it was bad.
Yeah, they kept trying to tell me it tasted like chicken, but then after I ate the alligator, I couldn't eat chicken anymore without tasting alligator. It was like it had like a funny aftertaste to it. It was chickeny, but then it had like a, I don't know, maybe like a gamey aftertaste to it that just lingered in the mouth, and it was gross. Ew.
Okay. Okay, then note to self: don't try and eat alligator.
Well, you
Um,
might like
well,
it.
it could also like be something with like the way it is prepped and cooked. You know, if it is just fried on a pan, then I would assume that yeah, then it would get like that gamey taste that you're talking about.
No, it was like a popcorn chicken, but it was like popcorn alligator, spicy
Yeah,
alligator.
yeah. Like if
Yeah,
this if it had
bread
been
was never good.
if it had been stirring in a stew like for 8 hours, then I think it would be tender and good. Um,
Yeah, maybe.
but yeah, New Orleans is definitely like a place with a lot of interesting history as well. And you know, I've heard that there lives a lot of Germans, or at least German-speaking people in New Orleans that emigrated there or from the emigration process.
Oh,
Um,
really? I did
yeah,
not know that.
yeah, a hundred
I feel
thousand
like
apparently.
it has a like a large French influence in the like the Creole
Yeah,
uh, population, but I did not know about the Germans.
yeah, the Germans are a big part in New Orleans. Um, but yeah, like I think it is like special since you know New Orleans is so multilingual. You know, like this is you would be able to hear Spanish, German, and French, right? And then American on top of all that.
Hmm.
Very interesting. Um, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. That like it is definitely a lower pace in New Orleans, and I'm guessing that has been created by all these cultures evolving in that city.
Maybe, but I mean, if you look at a city like Los Angeles, that's a huge melting pot, and it's nothing like New Orleans. So I don't know that the diversity would be the contributing factor there. Like
No,
I
but I don't
think
know.
it's the heat and the humidity that just makes everyone move a little slower. You know what I mean? Like, or at least when I went, it was extremely hot and humid. So, you know, you want to be outside, you want to get fresh air, and then there's a lot going on outside, but then, you know, just kind of like a lazy summer afternoon, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Um, but then, like you know, Los Angeles is just a different type of monster. I feel like you know, since you have the elite of the world on one part, and then in the other part you have what 50, 60,000 homeless people um,
Yeah.
on in all these places, in all these once upon a time famous places and still famous places.
Hmm.
So I
Well,
don't
they
know.
have like a population of over 10 million. Like, really, just like LA should be its own state. Like, LA County should be its own state.
10
It's a
million
huge.
in the metro
Hmm.
area. Wow, damn.
Yes. Yeah. So when I'm saying like there's a lot of diversity, like there's just a ton of people and a ton of different cultures and stuff, which is really cool. You know, to that's one of the reasons that I love going to Los Angeles. It's like, you know, a 5 block walk down the street and you'll pretty much run into whatever you're looking for, you know, because there is so much diversity. Like, no matter what, it's you're surrounded by whatever you could possibly want. It's a interesting place to be, definitely.
Yeah, I will like assume like yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, Man, I can't like say that I have seen that much of the United States. I've only been to New York City and some small towns in Connecticut, um, and then Jersey City, I believe. Yeah,
Oh,
and
neat.
but yeah, like there I can like feel like what you're talking about. That the pace is like definitely nothing like what you're describing in New Orleans. Everybody
Right.
moving fast. Yeah,
Rushed and angry and
yeah,
cranky, and you're just like, okay. And you don't even realize, like, well, for me growing up in California, like, you don't even realize that it's strange. You just think all people are like that, and then you visit some other place and you're like, whoa, wait, what?
yeah. Uh,
Traveling is definitely something I want to do more of.
Definitely, I think it's very healthy to travel and explore. Um,
Mhm.
well, one thing though, when I was there in 2017 or something, then everybody that I did engage in a conversation with always had to end the conversation with, "Oh, by the way, I just want you to know that I didn't vote for him." And
Oh yeah.
I didn't understand like how why is that relevant to this conversation?
It's not.
No.
Yeah. I was hoping, like, with a new president, we would maybe get over that and start moving on from that direction. But it doesn't look like we have, or we will be anytime soon. Like,
Why?
Trump really did change the political culture in the US, that's for sure. Even just by default of getting more people involved in politics and having stronger opinions and stuff. And now, like, your politics, it's like everything. Like, that's what you lead with. That's your small talk. Like, okay, what's your political stance? It's
Yeah.
crazy. I know, even when I was traveling, or I went to places like Canada and stuff, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're American," and then they instantly start with the politics, and you're like, "Oh."
Why?
You
Why?
know,
Why? Why would anybody do that? Like, I don't think it's that
it's
healthy to start a conversation with politics. Maybe like to evolve it into one. Then yeah, sure. Uh,
yeah, I think
but
everyone
yeah,
just wants to be heard. Yeah.
you just like interrogated instantly. Like, are you a Democrat or a Republican? Who did you vote for?
No, it was more like, "Oh, you're from the US. Let me tell you what I think all about your political system." And I get it, because I mean, we're so ridiculous that it's almost like a reality show. I could only imagine what it's like for these other countries to be watching US politics. Like, so then when they meet someone who's from the US, they're like, "Oh my God, like, let me tell you all about it." And you're like, "Oh." Like,
Oh
but
my
but
god.
the whole mood of just being like super, super political, it's been like that for you know, obviously since Trump was running, and it still seems like it's pretty prevalent.
I think like the biggest difference, at least from Europe to America, is how much up in your face they are with it.
Mhm.
With constant press conferences, media footage, and yeah, that's that's just like what? Why?
Wait,
Because here it is almost nothing of that. Nothing.
I was gonna ask, so you're telling me that doesn't happen with you guys?
Yeah, not in. Well, it does happen, but not in that aspect.
Yeah.
No, not by a long shot in that aspect. Um, but I can see that it is becoming like implemented. It's becoming more and more of it. So I don't know.
Oh, I'm
Who knows
sorry.
if yeah, who knows if like Western Europe and Scandinavia is going to adopt this up in your face media strategy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but that's how it is. Like in one on one side of it, it's maybe positive since you're becoming more involved and you're becoming like more enlightened as to what's going on and what are these people in suits actually doing right for the country.
Mhm.
But I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, it's good to be aware and to be involved, but there is a point that it turns into, more than that, or like obsession, or when you're attacking people on the streets because maybe they're wearing a specific shirt or some kind of hat, and your political views are different. Like, I don't know, it's getting pretty intense. Like, Well,
Like
it's been pretty intense, you know.
divided or what?
Yeah, super divided. That's what that whole documentary, like The Social Dilemma, was about, right? That we're all just being fed whatever the algorithm thinks that we're interested in. So we're getting this feedback loop where it's just reinforcing our own opinions and our own beliefs or values. So then when we're only being fed that and we're only seeing one side of the story, it's so easy to look at other people and be like, "Oh my god, you're a monster," you know, because you're everything that you've been taught or everything that you've been told is reinforcing the beliefs that you're right and this other person is wrong. So yeah, the um, dividing aspect of that is so horrible right now. I don't know if you've noticed that. Um,
Nah, not over here. But I know that I've like seen that at least like reporters and stuff from here is like saying on the news that it has been way more divided after Trump in the United States, um,
yeah,
with stronger beliefs in each side and so on. But yeah, I don't know.
you have Democratic Party, which is like the moral enforcer, and then you have the Republican Party, which just wants to like keep the government like out of everything. And so the two are just like how do they come together and agree on stuff when they are so fundamentally on two sides of the table? It never used to be like that. It was like, okay, so maybe you have, you know, there was like one political arena, but then you leaned a little to the left or you leaned more to the right. And now it's like, no, you're either left or right and you hate each other. Like there's no compromise there, you know.
Wow.
Like I was talking to one person who was explaining to me their political beliefs and they happened to be Democrat and she was saying to me like, you don't understand, there is no agree to disagree. View you as morally reprehensible. There is the fact that you would even like even align yourself or even consider the right views and like what the party is doing makes you a horrible human being. And so I can no longer like you. Like it's crazy. Like it's intense.
Wow. How mature? Like I can no longer love you. I can no longer have any contact with you because it's either my way or it's nothing. God damn.
Or I lose all respect for you as a human being. Like
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Man, well this is crazy. Um
Sorry,
yeah, no problem.
not to get
No problem.
like all into politics.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Can you even say that there is such a thing as right and wrong anymore? Uh or or is that just, you know, like just smoke, and what it's really like is that you're only accountable to yourself in the end, so you can do whatever you want, right?
Well, sure. I mean, but it's all so circumstantial. You know, it depends on the context. Nothing is ever really black and white, but everyone believes it's black and white.
Yeah.
And that's where the
Yeah.
divide comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, sorry for laughing, but you know, I was like looking at that, like we're getting so many American news over here now, it's crazy. But that police shooting from Chicago, where he shot a 13-year-old kid in the street, and
Oh,
instantly, you know, like it seems like the answer to the people was like almost like lynching attitude, like hang him, he did something wrong, hang him, put him to jail or whatever, right?
yeah,
but
definitely.
but when you actually go and you see the video from the body camera, then it is not that black and white, because it is 3 a.m. in the middle of the night. It's a dark alley. It's a person with a gun that is running from you. Uh, then the situation kind of changes, right? So you would just by instinct pull your firearm and put whatever's in front of you that's armed down. unless the gun was dropped to the floor instantly, right? Which it wasn't.
Right. And
So
that's what's unfortunate, that we're relying on, our authority figures or our police to make these snap judgments when they could potentially also feel like their life is in danger. In this scenario where you say that, the kid was holding a gun, we're essentially putting them in flight or fight response scenarios, and they have like a snap, like a second to make that decision. And I can't imagine that that's easy to do. I could never do it. I don't think I'd make the right decision every single time.
no, but
I understand the need for
you would
reform.
also, yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that I understand the need for reform, but yeah, and it's an unpopular opinion that I also kind of empathize with the situation that our police officers are in. It could be extremely difficult for them, and yeah, there has to be a better solution than just randomly killing people all the time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
Uh,
don't know. I don't
but
think
yeah,
defunding the police is
your police officers are also like one, or at least like some of the police officers in the world that is under tremendous pressure and stress because of this, right? Because of the element that they're up against,
Mhm.
and
And I think
guns.
when everyone, like, with everyone recording nowadays and pulling their phones out and stuff, like, there's that adds a whole nother element that they have to consider now. You know what I mean? Where they're not in the moment just taking care of the issue. It's like, okay, what's this crowd around us doing? Like, I feel like society right now is kind of almost allowing things to escalate, or at least they're not helping at all either.
No, 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 for sure. Like if anything, the society is doing the opposite of helping in this situation. Just like what told you, with that, the general attitude was just hang him or put him to jail or whatever, without like actually putting yourself in a police officer's shoes in a situation like that. I would like say like 9 out of 10 would act precisely the same, because you are, as you say, on the fight and flight mode, right? So you would just do it by instinct if you see the person as a threat.
Right. And I don't know that any amount of training can really put you into that space, into that headspace of actually having someone who's armed in front of you and really believing that your life is in danger. Like, don't you never know how you're going to react. You could have all the training in the world, but until you're put in that situation, you don't know what you would do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
But yeah, like regarding the training that you're saying, I've seen some YouTube videos and I'm like thinking, holy shit, officers over there has to be so much more vigilant, and it's the first time I have ever seen that there is a tactic as to how to approach a car that you pull over, right? And the reason for this is that it has a great deal to say how you approach the car if the driver is holding a gun. I never thought about that before. Holy crap, man. Because the police officer then, according to your book, have to approach the driver behind the driver's shoulder and not going past the driver's shoulder, so that he has time to react in case the driver pulls a gun.
mhm.
And
Oh, I've
then,
I've always
yeah,
done that. Like, if you get pulled over, hands are at 10 and 2, and
yeah,
you
and
roll down your window. Like, don't go reaching for anything until they're watching you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but
but I thought it was like that everywhere.
no, 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 not at all in over here on the other side of the Atlantic. Uh, here it is like pretty much the complete opposite. Like a police officer would just walk casually on all the way, because there is zero chance that the driver of the vehicle that he pulls over is going to be carrying a loaded firearm.
Did you
Um,
say there's zero chance?
yeah, almost. I would say though. So it has to be zero percent chance, maybe 0.0 something. But yeah,
I, I mean, there has to be a slight chance, right?
I'm not sure. If you could even call it slight because you're not
Don't you guys
allowed.
have gang activity and stuff?
If we have what guns?
Gang activity and stuff. Like even
Yeah.
if you don't have like the gun laws that we have, I would still assume that some of the citizens are still carrying.
No, like we do have gangs and stuff, but there has been like some arrests and some weapons of possession and something, weapon possession charges and stuff, but it's been very, very few, because whenever there is like a gang, biker gang or something, fight somewhere, um, then it's typically with sticks and bats or something. Uh,
Oh, wow.
so no, it is not at all common to carry a gun in Western Europe. Um, Not to say
Yeah, I
that you.
think I heard about some guy in Canada that, with the whole COVID thing, was just going around and spitting on people. I was like, wow, that's horrible, but also creative, I guess, if you really want to like mess up people's lives.
Yeah, you don't need a gun all the time to mess up somebody's life. No. Uh, so no, like the way it functions here with like a gun laws and stuff is that you can get a pistol, right? But the process of getting a pistol or a revolver, is that you would have to be an active part of a gun club for over a year. For over a year, you would need to go to a gun club and fire weapons, and
Oh wow.
then after that, you could ask, the person in charge of the gun club to get his word, because you're applying to get permission to buy a firearm. And you would
Oh,
need and you then you
have
would
to have.
need yeah then you would need his word, to guarantee for you, for to the police chief, that, yeah, I guarantee for him, and he's going to use that Glock 45 or whatever, to competition shooting or shooting at the range, and he's safe around firearms. And
Oh
like
wow.
that's the entire process. And even after this, you're still required to go to the gun club after, because that was the reason why you got the gun in the first place, right?
Mhm.
So if you don't follow up with that, then they can take it away from you.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I like that idea of needing a reference because if you don't know anyone in your life who says, I think that you should have a gun, that's probably a good indicator that you should not have a gun. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't heard of that before, but I think that's an excellent idea.
And also that it is gun range trainer, right? That is vouching for you. That is vouching that you know your shit. Um,
And gun safety and all that. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I don't know, like a year seems super long. I don't think the US folks would go for anything like that, but um
Nah, that's for pistols though. Like if you're talking about hunting, like with shotguns or a rifle, then you can get it in like 2 to 3 weeks.
oh,
Um,
okay.
so that's the difference, I guess. Because then you just get
Huh.
the hunting license and then you can get that. But yeah, so
Okay.
that's about that. Um, I don't know. I think like we're going to round it off shortly. I'm not sure. Do you want to know like what's the most interesting thing in my week before we end
Yes,
it?
definitely.
I would I would say, like it was today. It was actually today. I was heading to the dump, with a trailer full of garbage, and
Mhm.
as I'm like making the turn, and like it's a slow zone, it's like 20 20 miles an hour zone or something, right? And I'm making the turn, and as I make the turn, it comes a freaking racing motorcycle bike or something in well over 100 miles per hour.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and yeah, and I was like just completely like shocked, because if I had just like gone an inch faster, that bike would have been like all over my car.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, and I don't.
Scary.
Yeah, and it's such a short. It was such a short stretch of road too. So I didn't understand the purpose. Like why why go faster at all? Um,
Yeah. Especially on a motorcycle, you got to be extra careful.
yeah. Like that was a shocking moment, and the most interesting thing that happened to me this week. Other than I guess that I finished the Old Man in the Sea. Uh,
Recommended?
I would say so. I would say so that it is heavily recommended because
Oh, nice.
you can if you like really pay attention when you read it, uh, you can put yourself in the shoes and you can see that Hemingway has been actively talking to people on Cuba in the 50s when he wrote this book, right? And
Mhm.
figured out everything, like from top to bottom, like how is the life for a poor fisherman on Cuba? How does he live? What is the cabin that the fisherman lives in made out of, and what's typically in this cabin, and what what is all the equipment that a fisherman in Cuba in the 1950s is carrying. So yeah, great attention to detail. It was the last piece that he wrote before he moved from Cuba to where was it? Ketchum, Idaho,
Oh, okay.
and then died shortly after, or 8 years later or something.
Oh, wow.
He only
Yeah,
became
Henry is
yeah
an excellent writer.
yeah.
He,
Did you ever like have anything of him in school?
I did. I think I was mentioning it the other day in conversation. Uh, Hills Like White Elephants. I
Yes,
read that,
we had that too in my high school in Norway. Yeah,
and that which was fascinating. And there, just reading his work, the way he ties everything together, like everything feels intentional.
yeah,
There's nothing that's left to chance, or he's not just spewing out thoughts. It's so beautifully designed the way that he writes it. Like, you could approach his work from an analytical standpoint from so many different perspectives, and it's all going to lead you back to like the same understanding or the same feeling. Really, really excellent. So I should definitely read that book because I like his works.
yeah. Hills like white elephants. Um, wasn't that like about abortion between the lines, as I understood it back then, at least? I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
And then
Uh,
the crossroads at the end, and
yeah.
him wondering like if he should just bail on her. Yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting.
It is, and he definitely doesn't write something that is like happy books. This is a brutal realism that he's writing down in his books.
And he's not telling you what to observe, but he's just painting the picture and like leading you exactly where to observe. Like it, I don't know. I find him fascinating
Yeah,
as an author.
definitely. And he only became 62 years old. Um, but
Didn't he commit suicide?
I don't think that he committed suicide. But he only became 62 years old. And I would like assume that it was because of the heavy alcohol consumed.
Oh yeah,
As
probably.
as like if you read about him, then it says that it wasn't unusual for him to go down in a bar and empty a bottle of rum every day in Cuba.
He did. Yeah, he did commit
Yeah,
suicide. He shot himself in the head.
he
Well,
did.
it doesn't say
Wow.
in the head. He shot himself at his home in Oak Park, Illinois, in 1928 at the age of 57. Respondent over
No,
a
wasn't.
diabetic
No,
condition.
that was the other guy. Uh, that was the
Oh,
other guy.
Ernest.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
That was the other guy that wrote what was it, or
Ernest
Rum Diary and stuff. Um, no,
Hemingway, right?
yeah, I think
Wait,
that
now
Hemingway died of like natural causes.
mm, we're talking about Ernest Hemingway, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the person.
No, no, he. I didn't know he was the one
Okay,
who wrote Whom the Bell Tolls, but no, it
okay,
says he died at 57 in 1928
yeah.
from suicide. Yeah.
Because it says Hemingway died in July 2nd, 1961, probably also from damages in his body from a plane crash in 1954 that he never completely recovered from.
Oh, oh. I'm sorry. Okay, so maybe I should read the whole portion. They
Yeah,
were talking about his father. His father committed suicide.
yeah, I remember that. That like that's crazy. Like now that you mentioned it, that the teacher talked about that all those years ago in high school. Um, Damn. Well, nonetheless, he was a genius writer, and I'm also definitely going to check out more of his work. But I will maybe pick something else next time because I don't know. Old Man in the Sea. I don't. I don't feel. I don't feel like it's a feel good book, because it's about this fisherman, right, who's old, and he owns nothing, and he has gone 84 days without catching a fish or something. And like when you're talking about fish, it's not like any fish. It's like fish that is 100 kilos plus or 200 pounds plus. Like big tuna fish, big marlins, right? Um, and because he hasn't caught anything, then he also kind of like lost all the respect from the other fishermen in the village, and he's an outcast. So he sets
Mhm.
out. So he sets out to catch to catch a big fish, and sails far out. And well, like I don't want to spoil any, I don't want to spoil anything from you, but goddamn, at least you can like see that the willpower is there because he has nothing, and still like the possibility of defeat or failure doesn't even enter his mind. It's either I'm gonna catch this big 400-pound Maryland fish, or I'm gonna die.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry because now
What?
I'm like assessing because I could have sworn he committed suicide, and now I'm reading yet another article that says he did. He shot
Yeah.
himself in the head a day and a half after returning home from the hospital.
Uh, Ernest Hemingway. Look, it says that Ernest Hemingway shot himself.
Yes. Here, I can send you this link to this article I'm looking at entitled Why Ernest Hemingway Committed Suicide.
Yeah, but his father was also called Ernest Hemingway, right? And he shot himself in the head.
Yeah,
Uh,
but that's definitely his picture.
no, no. That's not how he looked. Um, he
What?
did no. That's like the picture that you're looking at is his father. Hemingway never never gotten to look so old. Um, well, like I don't know because like the way I have seen him, then he doesn't look like that. Then it's this, right? Uh,
So,
well,
from this article, such is the case of Ernest Hemingway, as his friend A.E. Hotchner wondered why would someone whom many critics call the greatest writer of his century, a man who had a zest for life and adventure as big as his genius, a winner of a Nobel Prize, Pulitzer Prize, blah, 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 would put a shotgun to his head and kill himself.
wow, you're right. Holy cow!
Yes. I
Wow,
mean,
that
not,
never entered my mind. Wow,
yeah.
shot
All
himself. What's up?
artistically talented people are just Tortured soul.
Yes, I'm like wondering like what's up with like all these people, artistic and writers, shooting themselves in the damn in the damn head with shotguns because like Ernest Hemingway, Kurt Cobain, the guy
Reminds
that
me of Anthony
wrote,
Bourdain.
yeah, Anthony Bourdain, the guy that wrote the Rum Diary, who was that again? Hunter S. Thompson.
Hmm.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Like they have to be like tortured
Robin
souls.
Williams.
Yeah, Robbie Williams.
Such
Although,
genius and madness at the same time.
yeah,
What is that saying? Sometimes the only difference between genius and madness is success.
yeah. Okay, like would you have picked that? You know, like if you knew that like you can pick success and you can be like a renowned artist, writer, or whatever, but the price that you pay is that you are going to be heavily depressed when you reach your 50s and and most likely reach for a shotgun and kill yourself.
Oh. See, I would never want to be famous to begin with.
Really?
So, no. Ew,
Why?
no.
Why not?
Oh, I am way too much of a control freak to have the public think that they have an opinion on how I live my life. Absolutely not.
Uh,
Never. Like, I don't like things like social responsibility or, having to say or do the right things all the time. I'm much more one of the people that just goes unnoticed, but I'm doing my own weird crap in the background all the time. No, you couldn't pay me enough to want to be famous. Okay,
really?
maybe $100 million
A
in one
hundred million.
installment,
Okay.
and then I'll be famous for a little bit, but then I'm going off the grid and faking my death,
All right. I'll
just
let
like
you.
Tupac.
I'll let you know when I'll scratch together $100 million.
Awesome.
um. All right. I'm going to end it here and say thank you for coming on, Frankie. I think like this turned out quite well. I do.
Oh,
Um.
awesome.
So if I do have your permission, then I will upload it for sure. Uh,
Yeah,
all right. And then I just hope that we can do this again. And yeah, thank you for coming on.
awesome. Thanks for having me. That was fun.